Cheers, brother bear.
Cheers, buddy.
Absolutely.
We made it.
We did. I made it across the great west all the way down to here.
Question: how does it feel to be the first in-person guest on Vocal Arts?
I feel very superior to every guest you've had before. I should look directly at the camera for every answer too. I feel great. I love how it happened too. You were like, oh yeah, we can like do it over Zoom, and rather than set up any of my, I was like, there's too much technology. I'll fly down.
I'll just fly instead of hopping on a Zoom call.
Yeah, it's more economically terrible of an idea.
I also think it's hilarious because I've been trying to get you on the podcast for like a solid year and a half.
I've ruined every single one of these. So I thought I'd make up for it by being like, I'll come to your house and burden you with me for 3 days.
I'm glad you're here.
I love you, Peter Barber.
I love you too.
This is great. I love this. It's like a little date.
It's nice.
Yeah, I like it.
Who are you, by the way? I think the audience would be interested to know.
Why is Colm? I am Colm McGuinness, also known as Colm McGuinness.
Colm. That's what I thought your name was at first. Actually,
everyone does. In California, everyone says Colm or other words that I can't say out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's Colm like a pillar. I always tell people, or like a section of an advice magazine. However, I'm the worst person to give advice ever.
Perfect. And what do you do?
I sing, unfortunately. For everyone who listens. I'm a composer and I sing mostly in the game industry, sometimes TV, and then always on YouTube, court jester style, if you will.
Yes, whatever the audience pleases.
Whatever they're into. It started with shanties and now it's, I don't know, where are we? Why are we?
Isn't that amazing though? That it started with shanties, of all things.
Yeah, 2021, the great, I don't know.
Shanty Awakening?
I love that. Yeah, that's more philosophical. I was going to say like just an absolute storm.
The Shanty Storm.
Yeah, there we go. The Eye of the Storm. Yeah. Like I remember we were talking about like on the news, like you'd see like Wellerman blew up. And
yes,
I was in my late 20s, so my sister-in-law was like, you should really post on this TikTok app. And I was like, I'm already, it's already locked down. There's already all these things happening. And I don't want to post on, I'm an older millennial, I don't want to post on TikTok. She's like, no, there's like all these people, like, you have an Irish accent. I was like, I don't sing. She's like, that doesn't matter. And as it turns out, it doesn't. It was really weird. It was I started posting in January. Same things everyone else is posting. Then I went through the entire Assassin's Creed Black Flag catalog. I posted basically every song on that. And then in February, I just had a completely different job. Then I was singing, and then I had to learn how to sing on the fly.
Right. No. What was it like though, being a part of that? Like when it really started, because surely the first thing you posted, you were like, "Oh, this is it. This is the one that's going to take me to the top," right?
Because everyone was posting Wellerman. I posted that, and I think I got like 50,000 views, and I was like, "Oh, that'll buy like a night of drinks." And
on TikTok, not even.
Yeah, not in Ireland. I posted that to YouTube because I knew that funneling things to YouTube would be a good idea, and I think. Because I've been trying to get into the composition industry and video game world for a bit there, and I was kind of like foot in the door for a while. And my mastermind plan was that I would post me singing like sea shanties because I couldn't sing, but I had an Irish accent. I was like, this will get me like maybe notes to like do like session vocals on like a pirate game or something like that this year, and then that'll transition into video game work, composition, and the game I tried to get on. Basically, like outrizzed me. They're like, get out of here, yuck. And then later on, I did vocals for League of Legends. So it was like mission failed successfully.
Yeah. Failing up, as they say.
Fail up. I love that. That's brilliant. Did you come up with that?
No, I wish.
Oh.
So what was your background as a composer? You did say that you went to the official music education school.
The best
system.
One in Ireland, Maynooth College, Ireland. It's not like a fully country university to go to, but it's definitely not like Trinity or any other ones. And the music course I did, I think I thought it was a little bit advertised more as doing like it's like you can get into media or film or video games, and really it was like concert music. And then when I left 4 years later, I was like, right, I am no closer to getting into the media industry than when I started, but now I'm like 22, so I had to go into basically do the doctor YouTube course of learning how to use DAWs and just orchestral libraries and stuff, and had to go from the ground up. So I had a bartender column arc for a few years, where I was working very long hours and then cold calling just any indie game to work on. So I was working mad hours, and I couldn't sing at all back then either. There was no like, I just kind of thought like, oh, when I get hungover, my voice is pretty low in the morning, but that'll never ever come in handy. Surely.
Surely.
Yeah,
never.
surely. Yeah.
So you're cold calling for composition work.
Yeah, I was. It was really pathetic. Like I think a lot of the composers starting out, hopefully they don't now. There's like Facebook groups for like indie games, so you would like basically DM them, and they get like 1 million DMs. Like there's like a running joke like, do you need a composer? Because like no one ever needs one. We're like rats infesting a ship. So you need to have kind of like, I guess like an it factor, or like some sort of like different flavor or niche that you would kind of try to get into. So like I was kind of like, maybe like I play violin, maybe I'll involve like Irish folk or something into it. And I've always been trying to do that really, which is kind of, when singing came up, I was like, oh, I'll just do this, because like there's always a better singer, or a group of every one of our friends is the better singer, so I was like, I need something. So this accent and this name and aesthetic kind of carries most.
You leaned in.
Yeah, I leaned in. I fell up. What was the term? Failed up. Yeah, there we go. Both. Yeah, because I was talking to our mutual friend Bobby Bass, Mr. Bobby Waters, Roberto Watero, and he was kind of talking about how he was talking about his level of singing, and he was like I'm a fine singer. I was like, no, Bobby, you're an amazing singer, because if you're not, I don't know what I am. We were just kind of going through how well trained everyone was, because at the start of it, I knew I could sing low, especially after a few of these.
Now, Colm, when you're singing, when you're working on something, you're trying to figure something out in your voice, do you ever like desperately want just a big, beautiful Viking man to come along and show you how to sing?
More than anything on this earth, Peter Barber.
More than anything. You know Danny Breivik, a.k.a. Big Brev.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? He's a phenom.
You would be a weirdo not to.
Big Brev has a private voice studio. Now, beyond Brev's amazing singing, his amazing range, which we've heard on numerous songs at this point. Inescapable. The guy can yodel. The guy can whistle. The guy can sing low. The guy can sing subharmonics. The guy can sing tenor high Cs.
He stands high. He's so tall.
He has basically an infinite range.
And stature.
Can confirm, having spent time with him. Now, not only does he do that, he is also a voice teacher with over 7 years of experience. At the college level, he's not teaching bums. He's teaching college-level singers how to sing. Winners. And now, Danny Breivik, the Big Brev, has started StudioBrev, his private voice studio where he takes singers from any level of experience to far higher on that chain of command, from beginner to intermediate to expert, right? As long as they have potential as a singer, Brev takes them on. And not only Brev, his wife Jen. Guess what about Jen? Jen, also a phenomenal singer, and to this day is the vocal coach of the great Big Brev.
A match made in heaven.
And she's on the board of numerous musical educational institutions.
Only the very best.
I have seen their singers go from 0 to 5 to 10 again and again and again in StudioBrev. So, if you want to take your singing to the next level, what are you going to do?
Only the Brev, only the best.
StudioBrev. Check the QR code right here. And if you can't if you can't get to that QR code for some reason, check the link in the description and sign up for StudioBrev.
Or you're not handsome.
So you discovered you could sing low notes after some proper whiskey.
In college, there was like you had to join an ensemble, so I tried to do choir for a bit, and I got like envy of like the lower basses, so I would show up hungover and then try and sing the low notes, and that only gets you so far. So I did guitar ensemble instead, and then that was whatever. So like after college, I basically go through a bunch of odd jobs. I'm still trying to get into composition part time, supplementing it with terrible work. And albeit fun. And I'm coming over and back to LA around 2018. And I start working with a company called Critical Role, which are like a D&D show. And they're the first company in LA that ever had time of day for me. So I'm always super duper grateful for that. They were like, oh, if you're ever in LA, you can come over and meet us after doing the thing. I was like, when on earth would I ever be in LA 5,000 miles away? So I went over. I was in. I just loved the city, and I was like, I have to come here. This is the plan. Obviously, your parents are like, that's a terrible idea. Maybe you should highly consider, something safe. And as it turns out, it was a lot more difficult and long to get in than a few months. So
yeah,
I tried to move over in 2020, but that ended the way it did. And then 2022, I finally came over, and by that stage, singing had led to more composition work and more session work in the game industry. And I normally try and make everything that I'm doing feed into one greater picture. So if I'm singing, I'm trying to make it feed back into either YouTube to advertise, something that feeds back into doing composition work or just music in general. There's some people I know who are like, yeah, I'm doing a bit of graphic design and music, but I also kind of want to. I'm like, you needs to connect. There needs to be something,
I actually want to talk a little bit more about your bartending days.
Yeah.
And how you got that job, and then just a little more detail on how you were balancing that with being a musician, because that sounds like chaos.
I'd left my master's. I was fully done college. I'd had crap jobs before, and so I was basically about to start a PhD. Because I kept basically turning around and being like, well, I should just do more college. That'll surely solve the problem. So I was about to go into PhD. Yeah, terrible idea.
More school.
Yeah, more. I'll pay more money to make money.
That's what they want you to think.
That's what they want you to think. We're too smart for them, Peter Barber. They'll never get us. So yeah, my dad was basically just like, you should get a job at this bar. And so in I went, and I was way overdressed for the leading the interview. So I worked there for, good lord, like almost 3 years, and it was just ridiculous hours.
What were they? Were you graveyard shift or just
graveyard shift? Yeah. I would come and do the whole clothes shifts. So it was great. I was going home and I was staying with my granddad, and then the funny thing is I chat to a lot of people in LA now, and a lot of them will be actors or voice actors, and I'll be able to kind of talk about different accents with them. They're like, oh, do you like formal training? I'm like, no, you just meet a lot of people when people come in to drink. You all over the UK and all over Ireland and Europe stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it was a grand old time. It was probably the more eventful job I've had. All of the funniest stories come from that. As much as I do love what I do now, I'm never like, man, I remember the laughs we had when I was alone in my home studio by myself. Looking at myself in the mirror on break.
Seeing three of you.
Yeah, drinking on the job. It was great. Actually, it was probably one of my best arcs. If you ask my dad, that was probably his favorite arc of my life. He would come in and see me at work. Not just because there was alcohol involved, There he is, there's my son,
That's a more legit job than being a YouTuber. Almost certainly, right?
He would tell people about it too. I'd be working on like a game or something like that. My dad would be like, he works behind the bar. You should see him. He's flying around the place. You should see him on a Saturday night. He's like an orange blur, in fact. It was a grand old time. I left that job just before 2020. I was like, man, this is finally gonna be my year. January, and then that year
torched.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I failed down that year.
We all did.
Yeah.
We all did, really. Although that did kind of send us all in a new direction.
It did, yeah.
Which has turned out well.
Yeah, we made it through that storm. That was weird. I worked in trailers, not the caravan type, the advertisement for movies and or games type. I got into that because the entire industry had closed down, so there was no you couldn't get a job, working in house for a game studio, or no one was making anything. So the industry had a massive back catalog of movies or stuff that they were kind of just going to fire out over that year. So I cold called 30 different trailer houses in LA because that was the amount I found online, and 3 got back to me, which is a 10% success rate.
Which is pretty good for cold calling.
It's amazing. No, it's pretty bad. I mean, I'm glad you saying it. So yeah, I worked in that for a bit, and because there was an 8-hour time difference, I was getting up at all hours to do stuff on maybe 2 hours notice. And I was like the first week, I was like, this is the dream. And I was like, this is not a dream. I mean, there's a lot of people who in that industry, like they're working on the absolute top movies, and it's really cool, and they make a killing. I knew the stage that I was at. I was kind of going for like the mid tier, like avant-garde TV show things. I'm like, oh yeah, I think there's probably a weird thing they're looking for in this. So I remember I recorded my then girlfriend, now wife's vocals for something, and it ended up on a trailer, and they hadn't actually informed me that it had been used on it yet. So I saw this trailer had like hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, and I was like, oh, someone else got that role. I applied for that. Yeah. Oh, are they the same idea? That's my wife's voice.
You're like, I know that voice.
Yeah, I know that voice. I know that voice anywhere. No one paid me for that voice.
Wow. What did you do?
I mean, we had to go through the company and be like, hey, they used our track, like, and then they had to basically be like, hey, like, pay up, like, you didn't tell us.
Yeah.
It was rough. So getting out of that and kind of transitioning back into more the goal I was going for was a bit difficult. So then, like, the end of that year, my sister-in-law was like, you should post on TikTok. And I've never heard, like, circling back to it, I was like, I've never heard of that app. She's like, no, you should really go for it. And I was like, so I said no. And then I was like, no, that's a terrible idea. I'm like 27. I'm not posting on social media.
Relatable.
Yeah. So it's also like, it was like very much like, it was so much more different to what it is now. It would be like people would like do each other singing, but like not what it is now. It was like more of like a kind of like musical theater type.
People used to also literally duet into the Apple microphone. Like for real, like before lip syncing was a thing on TikTok.
Yeah, you couldn't sync up the audio and
that's wild.
But before you could do the pre-production on TikTok.
Insane.
Yeah. Before you could apparently fake your bass vocals. So yeah, January 2021 rolls around, and circling back to it, it's everything kind of went topsy-turvy, and we had a completely different job over like the course of a week. So the end of February rolls around, and I was like, Dad, now it's working out. He was like, yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. And
I wish you were still in that bar, son.
Literally, he still does though. He still goes to that pub. He still goes in. He's like, I was talking to your old pal Kieran. I was like, don't go there anymore.
Like, you're really fucked up, son.
Yeah, I should go back. I have dreams where like it's like like it doesn't work and I just move back home and I work there again. I think he does too. Like my dad.
I think he does too.
Yeah,
his dreams are influencing you somehow.
I think so. I sometimes do want to like just take up weekend shifts at a bar.
Yeah, well, there's something beautiful about that kind of work, isn't there?
It's wonderful. Like I think like, a big thing about it is like even if you're having because there were some rough times. I remember I applied for a visa before and they were like literally like, you're such a loser. We would never even sponsor you. I don't know who would. And I went into work at like a 16-hour shift, and because it's so social. Like if I went into work in like any other kind of like not a social job, I would have had a terrible day, like a soul crushing day. But you come out at the end of it, you're like, it's water off a duck's back almost. It's I loved the social aspect of it. Also, you just say unspeakable things behind it, and no one remembers what you've said either. So it's a clean slate.
And no one will remember what we say on this podcast
because we can edit
unless you go over to Patreon and watch the whole thing
and give Peter lots of money so he can drink more red breast on the podcast. Boy bod.
Dude, the patrons are gonna gobble this extended cut.
I love it. How long have you been singing for?
I
thought you had like a chart on the walls. Like it's day 7,000.
Every day I mark my training. No, I mean always been singing as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, it was just mostly Disney movies.
Okay.
And like Backstreet Boys.
Oh yeah.
Right, late 90s. We're talking all the voices in Beauty and the Beast. Right. There's that scene where Belle's going through the streets and she's talking to the baker and the lady with a bunch of kids and Gaston and LeFou. I'm doing all those voices.
I saw the video of you doing the Gaston thing.
That's where it started. As you were saying, how long have I been singing? That was a long time ago. So Disney when I started.
Yeah.
And then I was, as you might expect, all sports.
Right.
All the way through the end of high school. But I did play trombone in middle school.
Breath control.
Yes. And a little bit of jazz band, trombone, freshman year before I decided I didn't want to wake up and go to class at 8 a.m. So I was all about sports.
Yeah.
But I was also in a jazz singer group all the way through high school.
Were you like the one music jock at your school?
Yeah, quite literally the one. And I didn't let that side of me out anywhere until like the end of my senior year,
Right.
when I sang at this high school talent show thing. And I literally sang opera, no training. I was literally singing in my tracksuit. I had spandex and a track tank top on, and all the medals I had won as a runner.
Oh.
And I came out singing Old Man River, which I can't sing anymore.
Did you just wear them like a flex? Like
yeah. It was like part of the thing. It was like part of the show.
All right, I thought you just like did it to be like, and I'm also incredibly decorated. It's like, that's sociopathic, Peter.
No, it was just part of the competition. Was called Mr. Woz. Woz was the right. letters for our high school. Before that, it was called Beautiful Boys, and that was deemed inappropriate by the time I was a senior. No one knew I could sing. And just before my senior year, I actually took a few voice lessons, and that teacher was like, "You should really think about doing this in college." I would consider myself very much a baritone in high school, but he could tell there was something.
Yeah,
there was something there. There was like an extra resonance, an extra whatever fit for classical singing. And so from there, you know, I wanted to go to college for sports. I wanted to go be a big time athlete. So better offers for music.
Yeah, right.
So I go to University of Miami for music, and that was kind of when I actually like fully pivoted. Like sports were gone, right? So I started getting into lifting, and then it was just music.
Did you have like a period where you didn't know that you were like the range you were, so you tried to sing higher?
It was so weird. I mean, when I got to college, people labeled me as a bass, which I thought was crazy, but I guess it was because like they kind of knew what a young operatic bass sounded like.
Right, yeah.
Because for me, I was like, I can't sing like these low bass arias.
I mean, even while you're talking, like you talk lower and louder than I do naturally, and it's very easy to tell. Yeah,
I think that's the thing. I'm used to it, but my voice it's a little lower and it is louder.
Yeah.
Right. And so for opera, that's what you need.
Yeah, because you and a bunch of the other lads who do, you know, that range, that register, like it's so apparent. Especially even like Bobby was like, yeah, like he just talks so like it's.
Bobby's voice is crazy, and Bobby's like he's a different kind of bass, because my voice at a certain range on the low end is much louder, more resonant than Bobby's.
Right.
But it gets down to a point where mine really starts to shut off, and his starts to like open up. You know, if you get down to like a low C, low D, like if Bobby's in kind of his bassy zone, he'll send me tracks for Bass Gang or for whatever, and he'll sing, you know, a line that's from like the C above low C to the down, and it'll get louder going down to the bottom.
Nuts.
And I'm like, my voice does that going down to like F.
Yeah.
But it starts to close down going down to the low C. So like Bobby's like a true low bass.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we talked about earlier how I got my vocal cords looked at, and I was like, stand back, ladies. This is about to be the biggest vocal cords you've ever seen. And,
Silver dollars, right?
Yeah, literally. And they put the camera down, and it was like, maybe it's really cold in the room that they're looking at my vocal cords.
I'm not performing at my best.
Yeah, like it's just
performance anxiety.
Yeah, if it was maybe like 10 degrees warmer, it'd probably be bigger vocal cords.
Yeah, they'd be huge right
freezing.
now. Yeah.
Real business meat freezer that we're really in. What's the regulations in this hospital? And then we had to look at them, and it was like, yeah, maybe like at the most like baritone. And I was like, maybe they're really cool. And you're wrong.
And you're so wrong.
Yeah. Maybe I
sing the lowest. Oh, I can't do that. Yeah, I think we need more of this.
We do need more of this. Let me slurm out all my water from this.
Slurm?
Me and my wife, we're both we're eccentric people. So we you know, also when you're dating someone, you have your own cutesy terms that you use.
Yeah.
Ours just get weird. So I started calling you call them sodas here. We call them fizzy drinks in Ireland. It's
fizzy drinks.
Yeah, in Midwest, I think they call them pop.
Pop.
Yeah, so we call them fizzy drinks, or if you're like an older person, you call them a mineral, which that could be literally anything.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
so
vague.
So I started calling them yummy slurps. Savannah was also called them yummy slurps, and then
I'm writing that down. That's important.
TM. And it evolved like months later, and like I told Jonathan, and Jonathan was like, "This is brilliant." So he was calling them yummy slurps as well. And then like 8 months go by, and it evolves to slorm, with an O.
That's almost there.
Yeah, it's almost a slurm. So we're going to the fridge, like, can you get me a slorm? But slorm is like, it could be alcoholic drinks, it could be fizzy drinks, it could be just anything yummy, like a good slorm. Get that good slorm.
Sure.
And now that has taken, like, in the game industry, like friends I have there, that's just evolved to about a span of about 30 people now, where they're just all saying slorm. So Jonathan came over for like Easter dinner, and he was like, "Oh yeah, do you have any yummy slurps?" I'm like, "We're past that now, dude. It's slorm." He's like, "Slorm, Colm."
And John's like, "Yep." Oh
no, he was like disgusted. He was like, "What does that even mean?" I was like, "You're so behind the times, dude. You're not forward."
Not any cool. My baby sister, very cool. Gen Z. Shout out to Ravenna.
Brilliant.
2 baby sisters, both Gen Z. The older one, Ravenna, calls anything that's originally I thought it was just like desserts. She calls them STs.
ST.
Sweet treats.
Sweet treats. I like that.
Sweet treats.
Yeah.
But it's not just sweet treats. It can be anything where you're just like treating yourself a little bit.
You're a sweet treat, Peter.
You're a sweet treat. You're an ST.
I'm an ST.
This
Brilliant.
is an ST.
Lovely.
Right?
This is a smooth treat.
This is a smooth. Wow. I mean, it really is, isn't it? But I love that. That's the first time I heard it was from her. So
turn the brand away. They're not sponsoring us. Get that side view. Yeah, there we go.
They wish they were.
They wish. I wish I was.
Honestly, the amount of money this podcast is going to make. How much do you want? We're going to be on yachts.
I'd love that.
A month after this releases.
Yeah, I imagine.
Almost certainly. I mean, the amount of patrons that are going to join to see the deep cut.
I've never talked on camera before at length.
So that is actually really interesting.
Yeah. It's not out of any like, I want to be like, I just want to remain anonymous. Or like, I'm just really awkward at doing it. Like, it's just like, can you, like, you're good at it. I just can't, for me, I can't just be like, so today, fuck. And we make it that far in. I've tried to do like reads for promotional stuff before, and it's literally, we've gone up to like take 37 before. And I'm just like looking at the wall, I'm just bad at it. I'm good at talking to other humans. From my perspective. But yeah, like just talking when it's just me, it's just it's a catastrophe. So
interesting.
So we don't do the long form content. So I've tried to do Q&As before, and
that'll be part of the promo for this.
Yeah, maybe you stay in my house next time we do the Q&A.
How can we rein this back in?
I love going on tangents. That's my whole thing. I love doing the side quest thing, and then we look back and we're like, hang on, where were we? And we're 16 sentences away from where we were. I think we did a brief historical kind of route of where things went, and then we circled back to the start of 2021 twice.
We talked about the bartender.
Yeah, so
bartender life.
Yeah, bartender life was honestly the best. That was the best arc. The composer one it's great. It's the dream job. It's just you don't get the same crack.
What's your history playing instruments? Because now you play a great many, which I'd love to hear more about too. But
I played where did
that start?
Yeah, I played 2 pretty alright, and then a lot badly. So I was brought into violin lessons when I was 4. My eldest brother Owen, thank you very much for making secondary school very difficult for me. He came home with like this flyer, like violin lessons, and so my mother brought us all in, so we learned that. And remember, we hated it because it wasn't cool. There was no Lindsay Sterling, there was no Taylor Davis, there was no string players in general. It wasn't cool in Ireland. There was no Tina Gower, all these people. So it was very lame to play violin, to put it in PG American terms. So I wanted to play guitar for years, and then when I was like 12, I convinced my mom, I was like, I need to play guitar, like it's the only cool thing going. And mind you, this is now 2006, like rock music is not top thing in the world. It's no longer the 1980s.
Yes.
So I get really into guitar, and that's like my jam. No pun intended, for like all of secondary school. I get super into shredding, like heavy metal, really into like, fast, thin neck guitars. And then I just hated guitar. By the time I got to college, I just was like, I'm done with this. And I was like, I'm a composer. I don't play anything. Now I'm not even a player at all.
Interesting.
And it was a weird thing to do. I think I used to be a very all in and then get everything else out of the way. And now I'm very much settled into whatever works and whatever makes sense in my life. And that's kind of where I find where I'm happy. Because I think if I subscribe to an ideology of like, oh, I am a singer and this will make me the most happy and I will only do this. I think some people do that when they kind of associate like a dream job with their goal. And that can work out. Just for me personally, that I can get kind of stressed, and if I'm not 100% happy doing it when I've achieved something, I feel a great sense of guilt. I'm like, oh, I'm not happy doing my perceived dream. I'm like, I mean, like, what was that though? You didn't know you didn't know how it would feel if you got to it. So, I kind of go by just what I'm doing in the moment. If it's making sense, if it's paying the bills, if I'm fulfilled doing it, and that's kind of why I'm kind of going between composition work, session work, which in the game industry or film industry or any sort of part of the music for media field is just when you're doing like vocals, whatever your instrument choice is for a soundtrack. So it's either composition, that, or YouTube. And I like YouTube because you yourself, you have the autonomy to do whatever you want and put it at the pace you want, which for me is be very stressed all the time and release so much stuff that you are going to bed at 2 a.m. every evening and your wife has to tell you that you should probably take a break for a month.
Yes.
Yeah,
well, there's a lot of psychology in there, and goal setting is a really tricky thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially if you are ambitious and you have big goals, it's really hard to goal set but also still be grateful for what has happened and what you can do. That's a constant battle. For me. Is like a lot of big goals for the channel, for my music, for the bass gang, even still for opera. Even though I've pulled off the gas a little bit because of these other things. How do you set goals and work hard and chase these things while still being like, holy shit, I've come so far. This is my studio in my house, which is all from being a musician and being an artist.
A very uncommon thing for a millennial to say out loud.
Yeah, extremely. So how do you go about balancing that between trying to make a living?
I had a bit of a complex about it. In the States, they have this term, imposter syndrome.
Sure.
I didn't have that growing up. I used to say just feeling shite. So I was feeling shite sometimes.
We label a lot of things here.
It's brilliant. I love it. You're good at it, as we've taken notes. And so I would kind of be like, I've gotten this far doing vocals, which, that's not what the goal was. I was supposed to be this. And again, we kind of get back to like attachment as to like, this is what I was supposed to do. And I kind of felt like YouTube and singing and, just not doing composition work in general. It's like, I've done like, do you played Skyrim before?
No, but I have watched friends play it.
So there's the main quest, and then there's the side quests. That the side quests can get so distracting. I'm like, man, I spent too long on the side quest. Like my main quest isn't done, and it's kind of it's the friends we made along the way. But it really is kind of like, I mean, like this is I turn around halfway through a lot of these moments. I'm kind of like, I mean, like, don't be jaded about like doing music as a living and enjoying what you're doing. You do have to turn around and be like, I'm having a great time doing this, and like, depending on what I'm doing, like if I'm doing composition, like I think some people like different versions of it. I like it's kind of like a puzzle solving thing for me. Like I think when it clicks in, like if there's a section of a game where they're kind of like, it needs to be this long, it needs to loop for this amount of time without being too repetitive or boring, and like when it finally fits in, it's like finishing a Rubik's Cube for me, and that's where the serotonin boost dumps in for me. And some people are fully just like, they're all about the texture of the sound, and like, some people get really bogged down in theory. That's it for me. So I think maybe it's more of a technical puzzle solving, like I said, serotonin dump for me. And I think it's okay to just leave things at that. I think associating, like, well, this is what I was supposed to, and pigeonholing yourself can be, detrimental to you having a feeling shy time or an imposter syndrome. Non-alcoholic.
How does your sense of well-being relate to how well your content is performing?
Dreadful.
Right.
There was a time where I walked across there's like a bridge section of our house, and I heard like a crash at like 2 a.m. and it was me passing out, walking across it to go to bed. Because like I'll just try and meet like I used to try and meet weekly uploads while I was working on like a soundtrack and then doing session work and then like trying to do other stuff. And she's like, you're just stretching yourself too thin. I remember like I don't remember falling. So I remember waking up, and apparently the first thing I did is I checked my teeth to see if anything was broken. And
I know people who've done that and like busted their faces up.
Yeah, so I think I landed like on my shoulder a little bit, and so I woke up, checked my teeth, nothing was broken, went to bed, and then she was like, okay, you need to really consider not burning yourself out. So like I think there have definitely been videos I've done where I've just been like, all right, we'll send that out. Yeah, like that's that piece of content.
Kind of mail it in.
You can tell when I'm having a shit time doing it. Like there's probably like 5 ones where I've just absolutely hated doing that, and like I send it out and like it's done well, and I'm like, oh cool. But there's only been like 1 or 2 where I've not liked the process, I've not liked how it sounded. I'm like, this is a popular thing, it's relevant right now, and view wise it's flatlined, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just want to go backflip down the stairs.
Right.
And that's a dreadful feeling, because that really is now, you're kind of like, I'm not enjoying the work and I'm not feeling grateful for this. So like, am I jaded? Am I, this got very deep very soon.
I know, isn't it great?
It's great. I love it.
So I want to go through a chart that I'm going to make up. My gosh, Chris Williamson.
You draw very straight lines.
Host of the Modern Podcast is inspiring real quick. We're going to make up 4 options for this cube right now. So first option is you're passionate about the project and is successful.
Mm-hmm.
You can see where this is going. The next one is you are passionate about it, unsuccessful. Next box would be not passionate, right? You're doing something because it's trendy.
Yeah.
And it's successful. Last one is not passionate and not successful.
Would this pertain to like
this is I would say this is making covers of something.
Yeah.
So let's say a song pops up, you're like, wow, I love this song. I can't wait to put my spin on it. I can't wait to play all the instruments for it. And then it blows up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you can name specific covers. That'd be actually cool for the audience if you have things in mind.
If I can name a specific thing.
Just like one for each section.
I've been passionate about it and it's popped off. All of the, honestly, all of the traditional Irish music, because coming up at the time, like I got to represent a part of my culture that a lot of Americans would comment and be like, oh man, I've never heard this song before. And I felt not like an ambassador for my country or something like that, but like I felt really good about how I got to use my own accent in singing. And I got to play, music from my own country and share it with, parts of the world that maybe wouldn't have gotten to hear before, that would respond directly in comments. So you would have that instant gratification from that. So all of like the, like you see it in 2021, it's like Rocky Road to Dublin, like that whole.
You had some huge hits during the Irish trad.
Yeah, Black and Tans was a big one. But yeah, no, Black and Tans, it's basically a term for, I want to say a sect of British Army, but basically a force in Ireland at the time that was quite abusive to the countrymen.
Okay.
That so the terms like "come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man."
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like
so Irish trad music goes in this first box of.
It's a lot of kill English people. What's funny is you'll get a lot of English people in the comments being like, "Man, I'm from Yorkshire, but I love this song. I love how you covered this, Colm."
Unexpected praise.
Oh yeah, unexpected, man. It's what's funny is like I'd say about a lot of England is like at least a quarter Irish.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't
We
it?
infest countries, man.
Just get in there.
We're like really enjoyable cockroaches. We just get in. You don't even want to step on us.
Oh, I've had those here, and I prefer you as a house guest.
Thank you so much.
Thus far.
Thank you so much, Peter Barber.
Yeah. Okay. So that's passionate about it, and it turns out really well.
Yeah, and my parents liked it. That was another thing. It made my mom happy, and that makes me incredibly happy.
Mom loves.
Yeah, my mom asked me to write a Christmas song that would go on the radio, because she's always wanted like me to do something like that. She would listen to like modern Christmas songs on the radio. She'd be like, I hate these. So she's like, I'd love for you to write one. So I did, and I got it played on national radio for her. And
that's really cool.
It's the only reason I wrote it. It was like an Irish folk Christmas song that had like a verse in Irish, and they played it on Christmas Eve, and it was literally just for my mom.
That's so cool.
It was a cool moment for me.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next section. Passionate. You're passionate. You love it. It kind of flops. Does not get nearly the viewership. How do you feel about those kind of projects?
The thing is, like, it scratches an itch for me mentally. So like, you still make money perpetually doing YouTube. So
yes.
You can kind of like take the hit unless you're having like the worst month of all time. But like, it's normally only 1 month out of the year. It's normally January when all the funding from Christmas is kind of like dropped. Yeah, the ad, you know yourself, like the ad.
Yeah.
The AdSense is like, why is it so much worse in the last 30 days? Yeah. Like that, I never take those two to heart. It's probably like, and like a year later you look at it and like you don't even notice it's happened, because it's kind of like breached like the 100,000 mark, and it just kind of looks like all the other videos vaguely.
Yeah.
Can't think of one super duper off the top of my head. Maybe like Danny Boy. I liked doing that cover. I liked doing like.
I love that song.
I simplified out the intervals a lot in it, just to make it kind of like a bit more impactful. And it was around St. Patrick's Day, and I liked it, and it flopped. And I was at GDC that month, which was like a game dev conference up in San Francisco. So I was drinking the whole week, so it didn't really affect me emotionally. So that's probably one of those examples. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I like this. This is cool. This is cool to kind of dig in here. Okay. Not passionate about it, but it blows up.
Good Lord. Do I say this out loud? This actually might answer both the next ones. The songs from The Witcher. I did Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. Not that I don't like that song, it's just everyone had already done it and it blew up. It's, I kind of did it and I went, well, that was that. Also, Has Been Hotel. I've just never watched that show. And I've no idea what it's about. And I think all the viewership from that video is just people commenting that I changed the lyrics because I took out the curse words because my mom watches the content. And I was like, I'm not saying that in front of, saying that in front of Geraldine.
I didn't even know you did that in your content.
Yeah, I put there's like a transatlantic accent. I tried to do like the singing through your mask, like Frank Sinatra type thing for it. I fake play the piano in the videos. I'm literally doing this. But you can't see the actual keyboards.
Do people know that or
no? This is the first time they'll know. This is the exclusive. This is the reveal, man. I can't play piano.
Right, you said that.
Yeah, I
earlier today. You mentioned you can't play piano.
Yeah, I can't play. It's very
uncommon. even with your dainty hands.
Even my dainty hands. You think like I have?
You
small
think they'd be nimble?
You think they just break easily?
Hands be nimble. Hands be quick.
They're like
hands jump over a candlestick.
That's just elegance and grace. Unlike these brittle. They're like salad fingers.
They look fast though. Are they fast when you're picking?
Guitar? Yeah, I used to be super shreddy with that. I got back into my guitar arc.
Okay.
I'm in my Gibson Dad guitar arc though. I used to love like I don't know if you're a big like metal guy or like
Strat or.
I used to be, so I had a Gibson SG when I was like younger, and I like that one. That's like more of a dad guitar, like the AC/DC thing. And then I was like into Super Strats, which is like the super fast shredder type stuff. And now I'm in my like dentist dad guitar arc. We'll jump off this because this is a very boring topic, but I bought 2 Les Pauls this year and I went into Rudy's in New York, which is like a historic music shop.
Oh yes, heard of it.
Your man was like, you should buy this ES model, it's 12 grand. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll get around to that. Yeah, give us the shipping information. I'm gonna get out of this fucking shop. Like, so I'm in my guitar once again. But yeah, no, like, left hand very shreddery. This hand, as we know, I messed up twice this year. So I'm not meant to fight people. Apparently
not.
Yeah, in a sporting event, I don't get into street fights.
We'll get in a fight while we're in Phoenix, almost certainly.
Not with you.
No.
Yeah.
We're a team.
You'll put me through. Oh, brilliant.
We're a team while you're here.
Yeah, I can sit on your capable shoulders and throw things at people. So clip this cohesively, Mason. So
for sure.
I used to actually engage with comments purely for engagement, to repeat that word. So like the idea of like making one of these out of sync, it would be so someone would comment that and then you get 20 comments and then that actually funnels engagement, and YouTube's like, well, people are interacting with this video, we'll pump it in the algorithm. So I used to like soft argue with people in the comment section, and but like it was never malicious, and because you're like typing it, people will kind of be like, is he arguing? Or like, so people are like, this is fake. I'm like, you're fake. And they like 30 comments, and I would keep continuing. Like, no, this is like you pitch your vocals down. I'm like, no, I don't. And they would like, you'll send proof. I'm like, I'm not gonna. And like, you get so much comments at the start. I don't do it now.
Very true.
Yeah, now I'm 30. I would say you should pivot. You should pivot again. Do it. Abandon this opera thing. You're getting to voice acting.
You know, I've actually always wanted to voice an animated character.
Really?
Big dream.
Like movie, like an anime, like a Western cartoon, like what
TV show, movie.
TV show?
Yeah. Absolutely dream job for me. Because I really think I could do it.
I think you'd be good at it. I think Jonathan Young would be good at it. I think he's voice acted before. I think Caleb Houses before as well. I'd be crap. I'd be absolutely terrible. Yeah. So I've been asked to. So sometimes on a soundtrack I'll get asked to do like what's called diegetic vocals, and that's canonical within the world that it's in. So if you've ever been like, I always use Skyrim as an example, but you go to a tavern and there's a person singing everyone in the world is hearing that person sing, but no one's hearing the background orchestral music playing. So that's just for the player. So I've been asked to do kind of like bard music for a game for direct stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, and just read a few lines of dialogue as well. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do that. They're like, oh yeah, no. Like, and from their perspective, they're like, oh, just say your silly, accent, and it'll sound very in world.
Which is like, here's Wonderwall.
Yeah. I'm like, welcome, traveler.
Welcome, traveler, to the pub in Skyrim planet.
Yeah, it's like Irish Stephen Hawking. So I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Dreadful, like, and it's kind of funny because voice actors kind of get screwed over with people coming from maybe on-screen acting kind of taking jobs up. And my whole perspective is now that I probably would have done that when I was struggling for opportunities, but now I want the whole product to be good. So I'm like, I'm not going to make someone listen to my shite voice acting in a AAA game.
Sure.
Or a double A game or any sort of game that, where the acting is just going to be subpar because it's going to be coming from me, not a trained actor, basically being so at the other end of things, sometimes you hear Irish vocals and stuff, or just Irish acting on stuff, and even if it's from Irish actors, you'll notice that an LA American acting director has basically been like, you gotta sound more Irish, like the leprechaun in the Lucky Charm. So you hear people will
Irish, just crazy.
It's more hard to the tar, and you're like, you look up, and sometimes the actor actually is from Ireland. You're like, how do they sound so awful? And you're like, oh, I get it, it's the market,
Yeah.
So
no, I've always wanted to do it. I think I could. Accents.
I believe in you.
Accents have always been a part of me and my friends and our inside jokes. Just doing, especially from movies. Just me and my closest friends, a big part of our inside jokes is just spitting out lines from movies and shows we all know. So me and my buddy George, for example, we'll just talk like the Peaky Blinders, or we'll just talk like Jack Sparrow. Or we'll just talk whatever.
Do you do the run?
Or Deep Country. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he stuff like that. And I've just felt just as a singer, as a trained singer, you learn how to manipulate your voice in so many ways.
Do you think speaking in or singing in a lot of different languages for the gigs that you've done has kind of helped with that, and and furthermore inflection for those things has helped with?
You learn in a systematic way just how to manipulate your voice. If you hear a sound, you're like, I know how I can make that sound. Very quickly.
I get told that my American singing accent is very country, and I'm not trying to make it country. I just keep getting told that why do you sound southern? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm trying to sound Californian. I don't know what's happening.
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, it's English, but how many dialects of English and American English and Southern and Californian and Northwestern and Northeastern?
Yeah. Because for me, it used to be the American accent, and there was the bland, quote unquote,
from
American
the
accent.
50s movies, right?
How do you do?
Lucy.
Don't worry, Dorothy, I'll find that crook who stole your handbag.
Exactly.
So it's even my wife, she'll still say I don't have an accent. You do. You have the quintessential American accent. That's
everyone has an accent technically.
Yeah. And in Ireland, you drive 5 minutes down the road and there's a different one. So whenever someone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going for the general Irish accent," there's 40 of them. Which one are you going for? It's like me saying East Coast. Do you mean Georgia or Maine or New York or
so different?
Yeah. So I love my favorite one is the Midwest, proper Midwest, like Minnesota.
Yeah. I
was there this year.
Minnesota.
It's
kind of like Canada.
Yeah, literally just not Canada. Yeah. They we were there. A buddy of mine, Steve, and he brought me there for he was doing work. He was like, "Do you want to go on a boys trip?" Me, him, and Curtis, really good friends of mine.
Oh, I saw pictures from that.
I love that's one of my favorite trips of ever. We went there, and apparently, some police officer was like, "Do you know what speed you're going?" I was like, "Yeah, like 50." He's like, "Yeah. Do you know you could hit a bear?" I was like, no, I did not know that was a possibility. It could happen. It's the sentence you hear people oh yeah, I hit a bear before. It's just a black bear though. I'm like, Oh yeah, sure. Like, there's no bears in Ireland, so I'm like, I mean, any bear that you hit with your car is a catastrophe. It's like,
Right,
oh yeah, of course, just
how did this happen?
yeah. It's like, you know, that's an event that could occur.
Okay, quick tangent.
Christian Bale.
So, yes. So we have this the Base Gang documentary coming out about the trip.
Lovely.
And there's this one voiceover moment when we're in the literal cave shooting Be Prepared for Tommy doing Scar, right? We're in this national cave. Incredible. Like the coolest filming location you could imagine.
Amazing production quality.
And at some point, Bobby is doing that bit between... It's where the Batman is telling the Joker, like, he can't have a Pokemon. It's from some old, like, YouTube video.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, is that like an AI-generated meme?
And so there's footage in the cave, and Casper has, like, opaquely laid over, like, the video of, like, this Batman action figure talking to the Joker action figure holding a Pokemon with Bobby doing the skit. And it is, like, 10 out of 10.
Bobby's really good at impressions.
He is.
He did a Plankton one while we were filming.
He's good at Plankton. He's good at Batman, Joker. He's good at Kermit. Really good at Kermit.
I can imagine that, yeah.
So that's like become a big part of Bobby and I's humor, is doing like accents together and just like playing off each other.
That's brilliant. When does that do we promote this? When does it come out?
This will release publicly on the Base Gang YouTube channel June 17th. So it will be out by the time people are watching this right now.
Phenomenal.
Isn't that weird?
That's, you know what?
To promote something.
It'd be weird not to watch it.
It'd be
very ugly not to watch it.
It'd be rude.
Very unhandsome, very unattractive.
Very unhandsome.
Very unhandsome, yes.
That is a great segue. How did that become a part of your presence? Because I saw one the other day that said stay egregiously handsome.
I love that.
And I laughed so hard when I read that.
This Latvian dude used to come into the pub I used to work at, and he used to go to the gym I went to too. Animal Barbell. And I think it's now Fire Gym. I think it closed down.
Sponsorship? Sponsor us?
What's up? Yeah, sponsor if it reopens.
What's up? Okay.
Yeah. So he used to come in, and he would get absolutely buckle drunk. And one day he goes, he's like walking out. It's like closing time. I was like, "Come on, buddy, you gotta get it." He was like, "Stay handsome." And I was like, "Stay very handsome." And he was like, "You stay very handsome." And he walks out, and then that just kind of like became a running joke at work. And I never use it for anything, and then I would just tell people to stay very handsome. But what's funny is some people will oftenly be like, he's just an arsehole online who keeps saying he's handsome. And I've never once said I'm very handsome. That's a ridiculous thing to say. That's a sociopathic thing to decree to the internet. I've always said stay very handsome.
Always.
Yeah. So it's evolved into stay, you know, outrageously handsome. Stay,
dude. They're so funny.
Yeah, stay.
And it's so funny that I'm like, everyone knows that as like a part of your thing. That's what you tell people.
Some of the more recent ones, Jim from management has actually come up with some of the precursors.
Really?
Yeah. Some of the funnier ones are
good for him.
But yeah, no, it's. That was just like a joke from work, and people, you know, sometimes people vote, or they've commented like, you know what, I was having a bad day, but I saw this, and I will stay handsome. Like, you absolutely
I feel handsome
George.
Now.
Do you should. That's
hilarious, man.
That's a whole thing. I love when people are just like so full of themselves. Like, imagine, I'm so handsome at the end of a post. Yeah. That's ridiculous. That's an insane thing to do.
I would hope no one would say that. A similar.
Everything you post, I'm gonna say you're so handsome.
Do you know who is very good friends with the voice actress of Kim Possible? Lauren Paley.
Shout out to Lauren Paley, everyone.
We love Lauren.
Everyone's favorite, ultra famous TikToker.
The only true celebrity of our entire creator friend group.
The most famous one, deservedly.
Yeah. 10.4 mil as of today.
Very, very, very wholesome, very family oriented.
She's a wonderful person. Isn't it weird how much happens in like a few years?
Lockdown was a wonderful time, but it was like a blur.
Yeah, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, like from people who were doing YouTube before lockdown, because I got into it midway through. Like, so I was kind of like, oh, this is great. And for like the first 6 months, it moved in slow motion, and then it just shot. But people who had already been doing it, they just like it flew by, and they were making like twice the money they were making because everyone was home. So for me, I was just like, it's a new dawn. Everything's okay, you know. I remember my 27th birthday. I was at my parents' house because that's where you live when you move back to your home country, and the country.
Oh, I was home as during the pandemic.
It hit midnight, and I was like, "Fuck!" I'm in my late 20s. The world is ending.
It's over.
My one prospect that had was going well got destroyed by the pandemic, and now we're here. And
dude, opera singer.
Yeah.
What the f am I doing during a pandemic?
Yeah. And we made it. You made it out, Peter.
I did. I transitioned big time.
You main quested it out.
I made, what would we call it? It would not be lemonade out of lemons because it was much harder to do than that.
You made a limoncello cocktail.
We've talked a lot about the past and kind of how we've gotten here. How do you view the future of YouTube and your career specifically as a composer, musician, artist, all that?
YouTube was a happy accident, and it has felt like more than that as we went along. And if it were to all die tomorrow, I would still be very happy that it occurred. So rather than ride this train till it dies and gracefully transition back into composition, which was my plan originally, I would like to see both plans out. But I can definitely foresee older, uglier, and less time being graceful to him, Colm, doing composition and maybe session stuff full time when everyone has had their fill of my wrinkly face doing shanties. To be honest.
Do you have any dream collaborators or companies that you'd like to work with?
Oh, industry wise?
Yeah.
Oh, there's definitely AAA stuff that I'd love to work on.
So AAA, you've mentioned this
AAA
before we chatted for the podcast today. But what do you mean by that?
So what that is, it's the blockbuster version of the game industry. So when you have a massive game, like a big
League of Legends.
Yeah, like a Ubisoft, like an Assassin's Creed thing, or like a massive Bethesda type company. And whether it's because it's more so happening for session stuff at the moment rather than composition. So you'll find yourself on those singing on the soundtracks because there's more jobs to happen there. It's kind of like acting on a film, really, which is kind of why I kind of got into it. Savannah was like, you could probably have a lot more opportunities, not directing the film but acting in the film, because there's always one director job and there's multiple roles to act in something, which is an ethos I've applied to just general musicianship throughout the industry. So I'll take the writer hat off and what instrument will I play on this, or if I get emails in, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I'll go for that role. So yeah, that's my goal, dude. It's my whole kind of genre space at the moment is still vaguely orchestral fantasy folk kind of based. So a big title with that would be really cool. I don't want to say a big company just so everyone's just you should hire Colm for your next game. Everyone's blowing up their Twitter and they just blacklist me for life. It would be cool to do one big fantasy title. I feel like that's most people's big goal, but I feel like I would have a lot to offer in the whole folk oriented aspect of it.
You mentioned original music as well.
Original music, yeah, I have original music coming out. We're going to do a bunch of maybe 4 singles and see how they go. And if they flop, we'll cut this out of the podcast.
Do not go listen to the singles. Dear Lord.
If the first one doesn't do well, we will never mention this again, and then we will forget the really expensive budget that we put into the videos. Yeah, but they've a lot more to do with me personally and less to do with kind of generic, I love shanties. I love the history of them, and I love how people have taken them and adapted them over time, but it's cool to kind of write more stuff about my own personal experience and tie it into the whole art form without kind of making it it's all about me, because that's a very narcissistic thing to do. I had one track where I did write about me now, Collie, and I mentioned the term Wi-Fi in it. And basically me and Colm sent off his granny's Wi-Fi as a term in it. And someone was like, I don't like that you mentioned the internet. It makes it less canonical for me. And I was like, what does that even mean? It's like, oh, I just
It's
can't.
part of our world.
Yeah, I can't imagine that being in like the 1800s. I'm like, you're porting that to what you want it to be, you know?
Yeah.
Which, listen, I appreciate listening to it, but like, you know, it
says more about them than you.
Yeah, and
as do almost all YouTube comments.
Yeah, I think that for now writing, I think that's extremely personal to me would be very, not narcissistic, but it would just be like, it would be an odd thing to do, you know? I think that art should be relevant and should be, to put it very arty-fartily, like a ubiquitous experience for everyone that they can relate to and, you know, experience together. And I still do love that art form, which is why I love the game industry and the film industry, because everyone's able to appreciate it. I think when someone writes something purely for them, that can be cool. But unless you're like a big super fan of that person, you're not really going to like engage with that art form unless you're just kind of like, I can imagine how they're feeling rather than I can relate to that. And that drives me nuts. I would never do that. Nor would I judge someone for doing it.
Yeah, I find that's relatively common in the contemporary classical world.
Of course.
Writing these super heady, intellectual, I have to explain this to you at length for you to understand it kind of music.
Galaxy Brain, avant-garde, Fluxus-oriented-esque. Yeah,
just
music,
like,
yeah.
I find that if you need to write an essay about a piece to explain why it's good or why it's relevant, you're kind of missing the point.
You're trying too hard to convince the reader that it's good.
Yeah. You're missing the point with music, which is like you put on a song by Aerosmith and people are like,
that's my favorite band. Yeah, we went to see him in Vegas last year, and
I'm obsessed with Steven Tyler.
Yeah, he was like in his, what is he, like early 80s, late 70s?
He's not young.
He was in leather pants, abs, a little bit like a wet tea bag, but still looking phenomenal.
Dude, I have a version of Ragdoll coming out. And my friend Veronica, who's one of the best singers I know in the world, is singing the lead on it.
My favorite album is the Pump album. I get so much shite for it. I love an elevator. They always open with it, and I acted like I was surprised when I did it. I was like I watched like 10 of their most recent concerts before we went to it, and I was like, I can't believe.
Dude, I've been listening to Ragdoll, Pink.
Yeah.
Song Pink. Obviously Sweet Emotion. Love Sweet Emotion. Yeah, I love it in Elevators. Incredible. Crazy.
What a history. What a legacy.
Yeah.
I was talking to my father-in-law. He'd seen him live years ago, and I was when he told me, I was so jealous that like we kind of had to, like, it was like a bucket list thing. So yeah,
it's very hard for a modern artist to imagine something like Aerosmith existing.
Absolutely. We were the youngest people at that concert by like 30 years.
Yeah.
Everyone was, grandkids.
Exactly.
At least on the way, or fully adult grandkids. Oriented. Exactly. Yeah. It was a magical time. The November Rain music video from Guns N' Roses, Slash is playing Joe Perry's guitar from Aerosmith, and I think he sold it back to him. It's
no shit.
Yeah, I'm way in on the lore, but here we are.
Here we are. I did in your accent.
You did, and quite well.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Do you ever have you seen Peaky Blinders?
No, I've not seen it. I've just seen people will get the suits and the paddy cap.
Yeah.
And
there's a couple Irish characters from that show.
Of course.
Love to hear you just take a stab at their accents.
Maybe it would depend on where my fellow countrymen would probably murder me if I didn't know where they were from and then tried to take a go with it.
They also probably weren't even Irish people originally, right? A lot of might be British actors or
possibly. I mean, Sons of Anarchy and a bunch of like these shows, they have like the worst accents possible, just attempting it. It's like, you can hire people from the country.
You can do it. Yeah,
people from Ireland. Not en masse, I hope. But yeah, I'll get most of my hate comments are probably from the country of Ireland. There's people being like, he's shite.
He's a fucking wanker.
He went off to America and did this as a
doing his traditional Irish stuff.
It can be funny.
Fraud.
Because obviously we want to move back, and it's my favorite place on earth. But like no one hates Irish people like Irish people. It's like in the Simpsons episode where like Groundskeeper Willie is like, no one hates Scots like people from Scotland. They ruin Scotland. It's like it might be like a small town syndrome thing where like if someone leaves, like whether it's to go do medicine or industry work or whatever, it's just like, oh, you's all fucked off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
never too heavy-hearted, but it's we'll see. We'll see. If I'm ran out of the country, I'll just come back here and move with you, Peter.
That's fine. I have a guest room.
Oh, brilliant.
You're about to fully experience it. All right, let's get into some Patreon questions.
Let's get into some Patreon questions.
Which we have a metric ton of.
Let's do the best ones. Let's do the most handsome ones.
Kathy McHugh, I've heard a lot of Irish singers have very fast vibratos like you. Do you do any training for vibrato, or is it totally natural? My daughter and I absolutely love your unique voice. We're super excited to hear this interview.
I'm so happy that you're excited to hear this. I'm really bad at vibrato. Like 2 years ago, I used to physically shake myself to get it out. And then when I learned it, I used too much of it because I was like, I finally have it down, and I'm still getting it. We're still working on it.
Here's a quick lesson about vibrato. Everyone has a different vibrato speed naturally.
Yeah.
So if you learn how to sing it naturally, some people will have very fast vibratos. Some people will have much slower vibratos. That can be shifted a little bit with like breath pressure and training and certain things. You can also get a much slower vibrato with what's called muscular warp in your larynx. If you push your voice too hard, a lot of old opera singers have what's called a super wide vibrato, where their vibrato slows down.
I have the opposite of that. I have a very quick one, which people always like say, like I have the Post Malone, Eddie Vedder one, where it's kind of almost like a goat shudder.
It's natural. For the most part, if you're singing with good technique, then your vibrato speed is totally natural.
Okay.
Melody Hess, what caused you to agree to a collab with the Bass Gang? Yeah, whatever, man.
They were so hot. I saw him and I was like, he's hot.
Oh no, he's
hot. They're too handsome to pass up. And I was like, man, if I get in with these guys, everyone's going to think I'm
also
more attractive by person. Yeah, it's like the person who takes a photo with all their sexy friends. There's like, don't ask who's in the photo. This is the Tinder bio.
The first Tinder pic, yeah.
Yeah, you guys are my first Tinder pic. That's the exact reason. I will not be taking fair questions on that matter.
Amanda Knott, how many instruments can Colm play?
I can play.
Let's go through them. Let's go through them.
So here's the thing.
Wait, I'm gonna do a little grid here.
There's a what I would call a wide spectrum where people own instruments and they can play instruments. I think every guitarist thinks he can play a bass, which I would probably say is half true. I play violin.
Literally play. I want you to name every instrument that you have played on for a song.
For a song, okay. All right. So we'll start with vocals, violin, cello, guitar, bass, bouzouki, banjo, mandolin, baron. Half of these I've played absolutely diabolical.
Doesn't matter.
There's probably tagelharpa. It's like a Scandinavian string instrument. Penny whistle, low whistle, and if there is another one after that, it's not even worth mentioning. So that's 12.
12 instruments.
They're so interchangeable though. Like it's kind of like if you can drive a car, you can drive a truck. Like if you can play a guitar, you could probably play a banjo. You can play a banjo. You could probably play a mandolin. And there's a translatability. And are you great at those? Absolutely not.
But you can get some chords and notes out.
I can produce a track with them to make it sound like it was all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I'm a pretty good producer, and I can Frankenstein everything all together to make it sound pretty decent. Yeah. That's
okay.
my
12. Jan Cates. Jan Cates, she's from Australia.
Oh, brilliant.
As a knitter, I will leave the musical questions to the experts in here. I would like to know who knits his beautiful jumpers, and did he expect to gain a cult following of fiber enthusiasts waiting to see which new knit he wears in each YouTube release?
What was the first name of the studio?
Jan.
Well, it's actually a Skellig gift store. You can find them at Skellig Gifts, and they actually knit them from the Aran Islands, which is an Irish company, which is the only sponsor I have specifically because it's an Irish company.
Maybe we should have talked like this the whole time.
Imagine we talked like this the whole time.
The whole time.
You have a rasp. You have like a nice little like vocal grain to what we're doing.
We got a little. I know. This is from my mom.
Brilliant. Is there one from my mom there?
Huh?
I wish there was one from my mom.
We'll find out.
My mom probably wouldn't give a shit.
Hello, Colm. This is Pete Barber's mother. Thanks, Mom, for pointing that out. I'm just curious if you like Los Angeles. I'm sure you miss Ireland, but I hope you get to visit often. Your voice is magical. Thanks for chatting with Pete. It's such an honor for him that you all are friends. I guess if I had to ask one single question, it would be, what is your favorite instrument to accompany your voice?
First of all, I'm a big fan of your work, aka Pete. He has much more magical voice than me. I don't know why I'm whispering this in the microphone.
You talk down here.
I do love. Yeah, I do love.
What do you love? What do you love about my voice, Colm?
It's just so much more naturally deeper and resonant than mine. I feel like when you talk, I feel it rumbling through the ground to my feet and into my soul.
Sometimes you just have to let it rumble.
I can't do that. I don't have the natural charisma or riz to do it. The charisma, as the kids would say. I love Los Angeles. It's great. I am very homesick. I'm going home in a week. That's going to satisfy my, sarcasm from home, cravings. And vocal accompaniment instrument. That's a very, very decent one. I feel like most of my stuff has been bouzouki accompaniment, and that's probably what I've done my bread and butter on. That's what I'm most comfortable with. I'm getting into baritone guitar, but mostly played like an Irish folk, probably bouzouki. Bouzouki. Bouzouki, an Irish bouzouki. It's like
Irish bouzouki.
It's like a bass mandolin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really long mandolin.
That's really cool.
It's pretty cool. It's easy to play. It's my dainty fingers can actually
the lady fingers can handle it.
I have lady fingers. I have tiramisu hands.
Well, that's my favorite dessert. So
there we go.
We'll find some tomorrow.
I'm an ST.
We're gonna. Well played.
There we go.
Ding, Ravenna. That's for you.
Keep that in.
Okay, this is from Nora.
Nora, a lovely name from the homeland.
The sponsor of the whiskey.
Oh, sponsor! Oh, shout out to Nora, dude.
Big shout out.
Boy pod
for Nora.
Nora staying extremely handsome wherever she is.
Stay egregiously handsome. She's up in Canada. Brilliant.
Phenomenal.
She has a few questions. Is it me, or does he travel a lot for someone who seems to really dislike flying? Also, she is big time banter.
Does she know I'm afraid of flying?
Somehow.
She might. Yeah, I'm terrified. This morning, it was around noon. I grip the seats whenever I fly. I hate takeoff and I hate landing. So I'll and without fail, I've done it
really
tens and tens of times. But I've gripped the seat beside me before and not realized I've been crushing the old woman's hand next to me before. That was a few years ago. And she literally turned around, she's like, it's okay, son. And I was just like, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
So bad. This woman was in her 80s as well. She probably predates the plane.
Right. Oh, almost certainly.
Yeah, I'm gripping her hand, terrified of it. I hate it every single time. It's like getting injections.
She must know. Maybe you've posted on your media.
I probably have. I hate flying so much. Yeah.
She's very smart. If she reads something, she probably will not forget it.
She is beauty. She is grace.
Nora. More questions from Nora. Okay. So the gent seems to collect stringed instruments the way I collect whiskey. Right?
I also collect whiskey, yeah.
What is your collection missing? Is there anything you're eyeing to get next? Is it down to the corner cases like hard angle fiddle? Or some obscure form of plectrum dulcimer?
That's actually a brilliant question, and it's actually very relevant because, as we talked about before,
Nora knows things.
She knows.
Certified Nora knows things.
I would love a hard hanger fiddle. It'd probably be easier than what I got scammed. I bought a nickel harper on Reverb, and I got scammed. I did get refunded, but I still have the blading thing, and it's non-functional. It's like a piece of shit. It was like a builder's kit that he sold as a full professional model. So it just is a decoration. It doesn't work. So I would probably. I mean, I don't want to just buy another guitar because I'll probably drive my wife crazy doing that. That's like the dad obsession. That's like the dentist 40-year-old man thing to do. Probably not a dulcimer. It's easy to sample those and play them in, and I'm not gonna go to the trouble of setting the whole thing up.
Fair.
Maybe viola.
Viola.
Viola. I have violin, have a cello. It'd be easy to just kind of do a whole string quartet arrangement for stuff without having to hire other people because it is time consuming. Viola.
And expensive.
Yeah. That's a great question. What a cultured absolute beaut.
Okay, this is from Ellie Hartsfield. Oh my gosh, can't wait. Stay handsome. Too hot for a woolly jumper.
It's actually,
that was not a question.
It's actually too.
You're saying you're too hot for a woolly jumper.
I'm too hot in a woolly jumper. I mean, physically, it's actually dreadful. Especially California. You're filming, and I have two fans in my filming space. I'm constantly sweating. I am a glistening mess. Is there?
That's it.
That's it.
You don't even have to respond to that.
Thank you so much.
Colm did arrive today when it was 114 degrees. It's the hottest day of the year so far.
I've stayed indoors,
and he said, "It's fine. It's dry heat." This is from AB. She's the other patron that came to visit me in Phoenix. What is it like writing the music for Critical Role? And is Matt Mercer as beautiful in real life as he is on the internet?
He's actually taller and broader than I thought he'd be. I thought he would be about 5'7". He's about 5'11". He's pretty broad. He's about the same size as I was, and I was actually pretty shocked. I liked he wears like a flowy cape vest thing. It's like a sweater vest if it was a cape. I wish I had that because I have like fat hips, so I would need something to cover. But I actually was kind of jealous of his like cape. The music is brilliant. My music is brilliant. No, the writing the music for them is actually pretty chill. They normally we kind of have a good relationship where we're dialed into I know what they like and they're pretty good at relaying to me what they want. There's a soundtrack they did for a show they called Candela Obscura, which is their horror show I talked to you about earlier, and that was a brilliant soundtrack to work on because they kind of just gave me a lot of free reign to kind of do kind of turn of the century, early 20th century music, but the horror, and it was a lot of dissonant string quartet octet music. I love doing that one. That was really cool. I went to a live show of that recently actually. It was kind of cool seeing people's reaction to music live. But everyone's dream is to write a big fantasy music piece for some form of media, so I get to get all my wiggles out doing that for Critical Role, and they're lovely to work with. They're great folks. They're my longest I don't want to say collaborator. They're the first company that ever gave me the time of day. So
hell yeah, we love Critical Role.
Yeah, OGs,
boom.
Dude.
That's it.
Hell yeah, dude. Is that it?
That's it, man. So
we round it off.
Let's give final words to the fans and people watching.
Final words to the fans.
This
has been a wonderful experience looking into your eyes for this long, Peter. I'm so glad I made this. I keep looking away because I'm just I can't. It's
don't just wait till I smile at you.
I can't even. It's when Pippin picks up the little orb thing. It's I'm getting lost. This has been a brilliant 3 hours ish, and if it's been edited down, this has been a great however long this video has been. You've really done it all, Peter.
Yeah.
You finished the main quest.
Hey, Boy Pod.
Thanks
for coming.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Cheers.
I love you.
Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with Colm McGuinness. If you'd like to see the full 2 hour and 45-minute conversation in which we got inappropriate and far too rowdy, that is over and available on Patreon. It's available for the Patreon community. So if you guys enjoyed this conversation, you'll most definitely enjoy that conversation. And if you enjoyed this chat, I know you'll enjoy this next one with the great Bobby Bass. Go on, check it out.